what about those of us that spent our adolescence chasing moving targets of trends, of beauty standards, of popularities, of things that have absolutely no sustainability, but like on an ongoing basis, we just like followed what was socially acceptable? Like, what about our stories?
Girls Gotta Eat.
Welcome back.
301.
What if I start counting again?
No. I counted it to like 9.
I'll do an original song for every number.
Wait, will you do it?
301.
Did you make this up?
We're still having fun. The old days are done.
This is cute. I keep going. 302. So next week you could rhyme it with Jew.
That. Well, 302.
Rayna is a Jew.
Rayna is a Jew, and you could be
Blue.
too. Azul's name means blue, and I'm from the 302. Hey!
You guys, look out for 302 next week. One doesn't even rhyme with anything besides fun.
Rayna.
Done. Hun.
Okay, did you know Delaware, full all-state one area code? You knew this, right?
You've told me that. I didn't like catalog it. I forgot.
So you really can be like from the 302 if you're from the whole state.
The whole state.
3 counties total.
Oh, damn. I know the first 6 digits of your phone number. Do you know the first 6 digits of mine? I abdicate after 6. I don't know the last 4.
I memorized this once. I feel
You
like my
did?
memory's slipping. Do you think it's the Botox?
I think it's just our old age. But I mean, I've had no memory since I was 18. But I've said for a long time I've been old since I was 18.
Well, I know you're
okay. Killing it.
What? Is that right?
That's right.
Oh, shit.
And then you guys could guess the other 4.
Yeah. 6969.
So you did guess it. That's really good.
Okay.
It's also the first 6 of my mom's, and just in case you want to.
Oh, my whole family, because we were all in the family plan until, well, I'm still on it. I didn't.
One time I was at the mall.
I pay the bill. I want to be clear.
Wait, that's so sweet.
But I just never bothered. You know, it's just like, let's just stay on this as a family.
I was at Ross Park Mall in Pittsburgh, and I was walking by one of those kiosks, and they're like, "Hi, ma'am," blah, blah, blah. And I said something like, "I'm already on the family plan. Don't worry about it." And he said, "Don't you think it's time at your age to get off?" And I was like, "Fuck you. It is never the age to get off. I'll have my mom pay my phone bill to the end of the time."
You were still on your
No, I was like 18 at the time.
I was 18. Okay, so right before I did...
This was decades ago?
I started doing stand-up right before I turned 30. And part of my bit was this year when I turned 30, I want to get off the family plan. Here I am 10 years later, still on it. I pay it now. And I'm tech support. Any issues my parents have, I have to deal with Verizon. But I was going to get off of it. And then I was like, we pay cheaper as 3 on a plan. I'm going to handle it. But the way Matt shamed me when he got off of it, it's like, yeah, Matt, I get it now. You have a spouse. You don't need to shame me too.
Arlen got off. Arlen's still on it with my mom, and I got off of it. Arlen has a spouse, and I was kicked off of it.
Actually, I think Matt would correct me. I think he got off way before he was married. I think he bought a house and was like, Ashley, this is embarrassing for you. Matt bought a house at 26.
That's more responsible than we are. Okay. That's not on us.
Okay, but I do want to know who out there in their 30s plus that's on the family plan.
Would you add Sparkle Eyes to your family?
No.
And still pick up the bill?
I would.
You're like, the more, you're like, actually, the more phones we add to this, the more money we save.
I want to die on the family plan. Like, no one's getting on our plan until someone dies. If he could come in if one of my parents pass, but no one's coming in and no one's getting out.
My mom.
This is the Bermuda Triangle. So I'm not going to get on a plane with him. If him and I were to get married, I'd be like, I'm still with my family.
That's your connection to your family?
Yes, forever.
Arlen sends my mom a Venmo every month for the phone bill. Arlen, who makes more money than the rest of the family combined, he should take care of the phone bill. He Venmos my mom for his portion of the phone bill.
Like requests.
No, he sends her the money.
Oh, he sends her the money.
Just for his portion, though.
Just for his,
he makes like 10x what my mom ever made in her life. And he just Venmos her his portion.
That's insane. He could just pick it up. He could prepay it all for the year.
So totally.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a blip on the radar. And he's like, I'm going to let you pay for you.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to empower you to pay for yourself. Okay, let's thank some of our partners. Thanks to Blue Land for supporting Girls Gotta Eat. All Blue Land products are made with clean ingredients you can feel good about. Right now, you can get 15% off your first order when you go to blueland.com/GGE. And we'd like to thank Nutrafol for supporting Girls Gotta Eat. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement clinically shown to improve visible thickness and strength. Go to Nutrafol.com/quiz to take the quiz and use code GGE to get $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping.
Yes, and thanks to Wild Grain for supporting our show. Wild Grain sends amazing bake from frozen sourdough breads, fresh pastas, and artisanal pastries. That is one of my favorite words, by the way. We're going to talk about it. For a limited time, get $30 off your first box, plus free croissants in every box. They know their customer. Go to wildgrain.com/GGE to start your subscription. And thanks to Chomp's Tasty Meat Sticks, packed with mouthwatering flavor for supporting our show. Right now, Chomp's is offering you 20% off your first order and free shipping when you go to chomps.com/GGE. Now my mouth is watering.
Do you think you like the word artisanal because it contains the word anal?
It actually... I'm going to start saying the full anal.
Well,
artisanal.
The way you said it sounded weird to me, so I checked the spelling because like I know it is like artisanal.
You say artis?
Like no, I say artisanal. Like I don't pronounce. It's funny to make fun of somebody and then pronounce it.
I actually thought you would say artisanal.
Artisanal. I guess I don't say it that often, but then I looked at the word and I was like, that word's anal.
This is very funny. Like, if you were saying the word artisanal, you're in some classy situation. So I think you should pronounce the anal hard. Go hard, artisanal.
Artisanal. Like if you're at Murray's Cheese.
That bread looks so good. Is that artisanal? Just really fuck with people.
I wish I could tell you how this person said it. It was a food influencer that was doing a cooking video on TikTok, and he said the word tzatziki, but he like sounded it out. Tzatziki. Like
that's what I would do.
And he said it so confident that I was like, am I wrong? I was like, this is bold.
That's giving Bibimap. That's given when I used to say Bibimap.
How do you spell it? Okay, hold on. Tzatziki. And he said it with so much confidence. I wish I could find this for you guys.
I love that when you really just own it.
Yeah. I was like, you know, when somebody says something and you're like, maybe I'm wrong.
Right. That's that big dick energy.
We have some speaking of dicks and anal.
Speaking of big dicks.
We have really exciting announcements for you. So we are releasing all new products for Valentine's Day. We have new products, new toys, new packaging, new bundles. We just want you to have the wildest, spiciest Valentine's Day possible. And you've been begging for one of these. Ashley's going to tell you about it. And another one we're just amped out of the collection. I'm so proud. They're so beautiful. You guys are going to have the best orgasms with what we're about to give you.
Yes, we teased it last week. We are teased it last week, but we are officially dropping the cock ring today. January 22nd, the cock ring is here. You guys have been wanting this. It took a lot of R&D, and we have finally figured out what we hope will be a cock ring that is going to be one size fits most. Again, there's going to be extremes on every side, but this is going to fit most penises. We tried it out on a lot of people. We had an insane group chat about it, and I'm going to pull it out.
What I have learned about the dicks in our circle just through researching this.
I know. It is pretty crazy. Like, it's funny that it's like a work chat. So this is the Richard. Did you come up with this?
It's named after my ex.
I know, but like...
Yeah, I came up with it. And also because we were talking about making a male name. Richard means dick, and it is also my ex's name.
Thanks for that. No, so... Okay, but here, I'm going to give you guys a little BTS. The original plan was to have a blue one and call it the Azul. And that was something I said jokingly. And
for years, I wasn't sure if it was a joke.
I didn't either. And then we came down to it, and everyone's like, Ashley, you really want to name a cock ring after your cute, sweet angel dog? And I was like, actually, no.
I wasn't sure if you were serious. And it was cute how it was posed to you. Like, it was a question.
Yeah, you guys were like, if she wants to do it, we'll let her.
I mean, it's your dog.
It's my company.
Like, if you...
So, and we didn't even...
Yeah, but other people own the company too, like me. But it is your dog. So if you want to name a cock ring after your dog, go off.
Now it's after your ex. I can't. How did we get from my dog to your ex? No, but like the Richard, the dick ring, like it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Classy name.
Mhm.
And we did this really beautiful chic hunter green color. And again, this is our highest quality silicone that we just love so much. It is super soft and this is very stretchy. And so you're going to obviously put a hard dick in it and the top is going to vibrate on the partner's erogenous zones. You know, if we're talking about a man and a woman, it's going to vibrate on your clit. And then there's a bottom piece too that is going to stimulate the wearer's testicles. So the whole point of the cock ring is for your pleasure as a woman or as the person on the other side of it, but also to keep your partner harder longer and really have a longer, more pleasurable experience for both parties. And again, the little ball cupper is just a little added fun.
I've never seen it in an S shape. So if you're watching YouTube or you go to our Instagram, it's an S shape. So it really hits every part of both people's anatomy. And it really is just going to get you off.
Yeah. I mean, I've been talking about cock rings on this podcast since the really early days. I think it's been definitely a part of my personal brand. And I think that's why people wanted this so much. We were getting DMs about it and comments and things like that. I mean, I remember having an ex that introduced me to one at 25. I remember we went to brunch and then we went to the sex toy store in Atlanta. And back then, you know, everything was made of that like jelly. Like even the rabbits we would buy at sex toy parties, like that jelly, it would like melt in the sun kind of material. Like,
they felt like garbage.
Like high quality sex toys are not made of that today. But that was really how we started. And I remember it was an orange tiger, like the clit stimulator was a tiger, orange tiger for Clemson.
Like a Clemson.
We saw that. We were like, how do they even sell this? We both went to Clemson. It was crazy. So he would put it on. It was just, you know, it would stretch for days because it was that like jelly material. And he would put it on and that like little tiger would buzz up against my clit.
That's funny. You've always been a proponent of cock rings and I never was necessarily. And what we've landed on is something that I think will really appease a lot of people that want to try a cock ring because it is so durable and stretchy, but firm. And on that note, lube is a must here. Our juiced up lubricant is amazing. So we definitely recommend getting that to go with your Richard.
The point is that it's snug and that it's tight and it's really going to maximize that blood flow and keep you harder. And then while we're here, I did just want to also talk about the new cleanup towel, the cum towel. We have our little carabiner, so it's like a golf towel style, and this is new, and this is going to be the trim and the writing in the same color as the Richard ring. So the former one, which is still for sale, is in a more pink shade, and that says thanks for coming, and this says strong finish, and we do sell that together as a gentleman's package, which we are so obsessed with having this gentleman package, but you can also, of course, buy those separately, and those are our two new male-focused products.
Yes, and so the cock ring is a couple's toy, and then our next release also couples or solo toy, and that is the Charlie. You know, Richard and Charles are same vibe.
Okay, can we just hone in on that? Like, we didn't even really plan that.
I didn't realize it until the other day.
I've been saying on this podcast for years that Richard and Charles are the same energy. They're the same name. And we have the Richard and the Charlie. And
I can't believe it. It wasn't on purpose. It's just, that's my grandpa's name. And two new toys are
everyone's grandpa's
my
name.
ex and everyone's grandpa's name. My mom will be so happy. I didn't tell her. I memorialized grandpa.
Did you guys call him Charlie?
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't Charles.
It was Charlie.
This is your grandfather.
Charlie, yes. So this toy is a C-curve toy. It is fantastic for a couple of reasons. Of course, amazing silicone. It is a beautiful, dark, rich purple shade. And this is really going to hit your G-spot. So I don't think we've sold a toy which specifically will target the G-spot. And because of the C shape of it, it will hit your clit and your G-spot at the same time.
Allison hits your G-spot, but different type of fullness. This is a much smaller toy.
Yeah, the Allison is the size of an actual penis. So this can be used
everything.
as a couple or solo. I love it for lazy masturbators because it's C-shaped. You stick it in you, it vibrates against your clit, and it stays in place really well. If you want to use it as a couple, same thing. You insert it and you can have sex with it inside of you and something is hitting your clit while a dick is sliding in and out of you, or fingers. It's just really
you could
nice.
get fingered with this. When you are using this with another body part, whether it be fingers or a penis, you're going to need the lube on that. So get our juiced up lube. Our lube is elite. People are obsessed with it. We cannot keep it in stock. We continuously have to order more. So I'm just saying that because, you look at this and you're like, wait a minute, how am I going to get this in with the dick? But just keep in mind that the way that it's curved, it's going to kind of go in that little pocket, that little cul-de-sac, if you will, where your G-spot is. And then the penis is going to be kind of flushed against it. So again, if you're watching on YouTube, we're kind of demoing all this, but this is designed to go in and again, just stay in.
So if you are interested in a cock ring or a curve-shaped vibrator, we have both of them for you. Both toys connect to the app. So I don't know if we've talked about this in a while, but we do have Vibes Only app, and the remote is in there for free for everybody. So you can download it and you can control it or your partner. And it's just a really fun time for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Again, there is erotic audio in there as well. That is part of a premium subscription. And so is the long distance control, but we love that you can control it long distance. So let's talk about the top tier lazy is the Charlie inside you and someone else is controlling the vibrations. You aren't lifting
That's
a
for me.
finger.
I'm the laziest masturbator. That's really for me.
Someone else is taking control of this and you're not even touching it. Like it's like a ghost is in the room.
Just like, you do it.
You do it. You had a long day. You deserve it. Azul is up here next to what we didn't name after him. And then also just wanted to mention the boxes are new colors. So we have a really beautiful color palette and all the vibrators formerly came in our standard color box. And this is going to be the darker box and the lighter color box. And we're so excited about that. And last week we mentioned the vanilla frosting blow gel and that is back. And this flavor is totally elite. I was like doing a little taste test last night again. Like I remember it, but I wanted to remind myself.
I was eating it last night and you're not supposed to eat it. I was tasting it with my neighbor, not on his dick, just in front of him. And I pumped it and the thing just landed right on my vagina.
Did he eat it all?
I was like, do you want to get that?
Could you get that for me? Just say it casual.
Okay.
Before you know it, he's eating you out.
I did the opposite where I got up and scrubbed it off of my sweatpants and then was walking around with a giant wet stain on top of my vagina in front of him. It is the most platonic relationship with somebody that I'm so attracted to.
Not the wet spot.
I had green pants, like
vanilla
a
flavored
huge wet spot.
You had Richard Green pants on. Their wet spot.
So get all that for Valentine's Day. The Rayna is sold out. We will be coming back with a new color. So the Rayna will be back, our Air Pulse Vibe Rayna in a new color. You can go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. We'll let you know when she is back in stock. But in the meantime, get these new toys and play around and create a date night for Valentine's Day that is inside the house. Nothing I love more than staying in.
So stay in and get off.
Do it. Yeah.
It's giving quarantine.
Do you remember when people couldn't smell or taste and they were just doing all kinds of weird stuff? I think about that email all the time.
When we got back out on the road post-COVID, when we were crowdsourcing stories, people were like, my partner and I both had COVID. We got into some nasty shit when you couldn't smell or taste.
I would just
so
be
crazy.
Free. You wouldn't wash my pussy for days.
If you can't smell yourself.
You can't smell it, what are you going to do? Well, speaking of my neighbor, he's been staying with me for the week.
You have a full-blown roommate. I'm living for it.
I really like it. I'm really enjoying it. I sat on the bed last night, watched him tap dance. He's a tap dancer.
He's good.
Yeah, he's good.
Was he pro?
He was like a professional tap dancer.
He's loud and proud.
So hot. He could do anything and it would not bother me. But I've just been thinking and I'm wondering what are your thoughts on this? So he's been staying with me for the week and his stuff is, he's not so messy. He's being respectful. It looks like a bomb went off in his bedroom. But he's being pretty respectful around the rest of the house. But his stuff is around. Yeah. Cups, water bottles, some trash, whatever. And listen, I've lived with men in the past. It's just, I feel like in my old age, I've gotten really anal retentive about my space. I am psychotic. Every night before I go to bed, I put every single thing in its place to the point that I'm just is this a problem? Am I capable of living with a person now? And listen, I know it's only been a few days, but I feel like it's not bothering me as much as I thought it would. And I think that hopefully it's just that I have a certain standard for how I want to live.
Yeah.
But I could let somebody else be in my space.
Okay.
Listen, all of you are try living with a man for more than a week. And I have, but it's easier to tolerate anything when you know that's finite. But it's just been a long time since I lived with a man and people just I'm not living with a man, but less stuff around my house. And I had to just deal with it because I'm not trying to make somebody nitpick at a person constantly. Are you like that?
Well, so,
because you never lived with a boyfriend. You never had somebody move in and share a lease with you.
I did for a short period of time. It wasn't years, but it was months. But that was a while back. So I kind of want to speak on it and where my life is now. I think I become tidier and neater and cleaner every year. I have turned into not anal retentive. I wouldn't call myself that, but like it really clean and like really neat and like everything needs to be in its place. And I don't want clutter anywhere. But when Sparkle Eyes comes, like his stuff, it's not everywhere. He's super neat. I've been to his home. He's really neat and clean too, but like there's just more stuff.
It's just another human.
So there's
in your
like
home.
a suitcase or a duffel bag, and then there's just like stuff on the counter, and you know, we're maybe having wine or we're having food. Like there's just more stuff, and I have to be like, Ashley, it's fine. And when he leaves, it'll be gone. But I wouldn't be worried about living with him because he is so neat and clean, but it's just more stuff.
It's just stuff. Yeah. It's more stuff. Like you're tidying after you. You don't have to clean up your side of the street.
Yeah.
Then another person's like in your home. I don't know. I deal with it because it's finite, but I don't know what I'm like anymore. Like living with a person.
But again, like he's really neat and clean. So I don't have to worry about this. Like if I found him to be really messy and really sloppy and like dirty, I mean, I've seen his bathroom, you know, I know he cleans before I come and visit, but I still know him as like a really...
We'll just donkey kick the Richard off the table. The Richard box and the Charlie.
He's pissed. He wanted his namesake. But this is like a real thing. Like I think a lot of people are on the same level, like a little messy here and there. They don't mind, like they don't really think about some of that cleanliness type stuff, and they find a person that's the same way. And then I think there are people that are so mismatched and it drives you crazy.
It would make me insane. I've never lived with anybody who was messy. Everybody I've lived with has been like highly tidy or terrified of me. To the point that they will clean up after themselves. I cannot be in this like cycle of like, please clean up after yourself. My mom would like leave notes around the house for my dad. Like real passive aggressive shit. There'd be a towel on the floor. She'd leave like a Post-it note on the towel. Like I can't live like that.
Well, and I said this before that like when I did live with my ex, I realized how you have to pick your battles. And I had a conversation with him early on of like, can you please help me with the dishes and this and that? But about like the towels. And he was never going to put a towel on a towel rack. He was going to throw it over the top of the shower, or he's going to, you know what guys love to do? Put it on a door.
Do you know how triggering that is for me? Because I can't reach that high. So it's up there and I just can't even get it. And when I pull it down, it just scrapes across the wood like that.
Oh my God. What is it?
I hate it.
Every guy wants to hang a towel
They're
on a
just
door.
like, Kobe.
Like they want to put a towel on a door in a hotel. There could be 10 racks. There could be hooks. So
there
easy
could be
to
a
hang
butler
on a hook.
sitting there being like, yes, sir, let me take this for you. And they'd still put it on top of the door.
They want to hang a towel on a door so bad.
Why are they
it's their soul.
Do you think they think it's like masculine? They can reach the top of the door. They're like, look what I can do that you can't.
You're right. And you pull it off and it's like, there's wood chips on your towel.
I know.
Your towel is ripped.
Every single person who installed a door was like, we won't need to sand this down.
Yeah. Who has ever smoothed the top of a door frame?
But they should.
But I don't care. I made this decision early on. I will move your towel. Like, I can't let that be a battle that I'm going to fight because there's something in a man that needs to put a towel where it doesn't go. And I'm willing to accept that. And you can put up with one of my female quirks.
Okay. But what I don't understand is like, what happened with your mom? Like, okay, I'm like sitting here having this like self-talk, like I can deal with this. This is fine. Like, I don't want to nitpick every single thing about my partner because I'll do that about other stuff too. Like, your mom never said anything to you about it. Also, like, your mom doesn't have to worry about emasculating you. She can just like railroad you. It doesn't matter. Like, every toilet seat in my house has just been up for days.
I have always gotten really lucky with that. With any man that I've like dated, been around, whether they really self-correct when they come in, I can't with a toilet seat up. Here's my thing. I think moms are tired. And as long as it's not on the floor or in their bed, they're fine. The towel. I was like, where's she going? You're right. I pivoted.
Well, on the floor, I was like, pee on the floor. That makes sense.
That does happen.
But then you went bed, and I was like, huh.
I'm sorry. Let me circle back to towels. I feel like you're a mom, and you're like, if they can just take it off the floor, I will just literally throw it in the towel.
I've won the battle. I will never win the war, but the battle's fine.
Right. Like, put it on anything that can hang it.
That's fair.
I don't know. Mom's way in. You had to give up somewhere along the line. Like, as long as it's not like soggy in the bed or on the floor, that's fine.
My neighbor has 4 brothers. How tired is his mom?
I just can't imagine.
Like, the toilet seats are all up. If that was my man, I would say something. I'm not going to like harass a friend of mine to like put the toilet seats down all the time. But if it's my man, we are going to correct this now or I'm going to withhold sex.
Can you imagine 4 boys, what the towels actually are like in that house?
You could crack one in half.
The mom is probably like, I don't care where you put it. I just don't want to have to crack it in half.
There's so much semen in my house. How bad does a house smell?
I hate
Four
four
boys.
boys. It's just like come and bo. And if you have 4 boys, you wanted a girl so bad. You wanted a girl for definitely the 3rd.
Just kept pumping them out.
And the 4th boy.
I would
Listen,
be
if you want 4 boys,
devastated.
that's your truth. No judgment. But I feel for a family with 4 boys, a mom.
I do too. She just had to give up all her hopes and dreams of anything ever smelling good or not being covered in cum. The amount of semen in the house.
That's disgusting. Like you were killing for a daughter humping a pillow. Like you would love it.
Did you have pillows?
No.
I know a lot of people that are like the side of like a
The side of a
couch.
Rayna, we know.
I didn't do that.
Oh.
I heard other people say it and I was like, that's a great idea. And how did I never think of that growing? I was disgusting.
Oh, you didn't hump anything?
I
You
was
just did a little
never
flick?
not DJing.
I know.
But I never once, no pillow, no couches.
You never thought to hump anything.
It never even crossed my mind. I'm disappointed in myself.
Like your stuffed animals or anything.
I wish I would have. How smart would that? I've been so creative. I found something that worked when I was like 9 and I just leaned in.
Okay.
No, I waited till 11, you guys.
6th grade. Okay, let's take a quick break. I am so excited to talk about Wild Grain. They are back as a partner. Wild Grain is the first ever Bake from Frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, fresh pastas, and artisanal pastries. Every item bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less, no thawing required. So we just got our boxes.
I have been plowing through that box.
We really, I got that box. I was really excited. I was like, what? I don't even know where to start. I'll tell you where I started. So I so
She figured it
far
out.
have done one of the pastas, which I had not done before. So the other night I made this fettuccine with some vodka sauce and some chicken. Their pasta is incredible.
It's amazing.
Just, boil 8 to 10 minutes. Like you guys know how to make pasta and it's like really good fresh pasta. And then I did a sourdough bread. So I've been having that. I had it with soup the other night. I had it with some eggs today. And we brought a bread over to some friends of ours.
Yeah, because the box the one that we got had 2 different kinds of pasta. It had cookies and 3 loaves of bread. And so it was nice to just have something to grab and bring to a friend's house.
Yes. And it was our friend Alyssa, who's been on the show, and she made breakfast with it the next morning. I had the croissants the last
those
time.
too.
Those are still in the freezer. I'm saving them for a special occasion, but I've had them before and they are unbelievable. So fluffy and just so doughy and moist.
They're
And
incredible.
the breads are so easy. So you just, again, you do not have to thaw this, which is annoying because you're like, I just want to make this and eat it. You don't have to thaw it. So you stick
Right.
it straight from frozen. It comes frozen into just the oven on the rack, the bread, for example, the pasta just in your boiling water. And then if you want to speak on the cookies, because those big chocolate chunk cookies.
Yeah, the cookies are unbelievable. I can't stop eating them. I have a problem. They're so good.
They're unbelievable. Oh,
And I
yeah,
had a fettuccine last night.
You did?
Yeah.
So this is a great thing for yourself or for a gift. I think
Yeah.
this would make an incredible gift, but just send it to yourself and again, it just goes right into the freezer.
Right.
That's the thing sometimes with bread, hot take is it's going to go bad, so you just have it whenever you're ready to bake a loaf of bread, make cookies, make the pasta. The pasta was in 2 clumps.
They're segmented for portions.
Okay, right. So, I just did one. And the other one's back in the freezer.
Yeah, me too.
So it's just amazing. I got on one person. I live alone and this works for me. And it's a ton of stuff.
You know when people send you boxes of food, sometimes you're just I don't want any of this stuff. Everything in the box, great.
Yeah. And it's all just really high quality ingredients and it tastes so fresh. And this can just make your week easier, your meals easier, and just something to get excited about. We are such fans. So now you can fully customize your wild grain box so you can get any combination of breads, pastas, and pastries you like. If you want a box of all breads, all pasta, or all pastries, you can have it. I love that. Plus, for a limited time, you can get $30 off your first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/GGE to start your subscription. You heard us, free croissants in every box. I mean, I thought I was going to say it funny once, and now they have me saying it 10 times.
That's your whole
That's
personality.
my whole personality now. So yes, free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/GGE. Again, that's wildgrain.com/GGE, or you can use promo code GGE at checkout.
And since we were talking about how disgusting men are in the homes and cleaning in general, let's talk about Blue Land. Ashley and I have been so obsessed with this company since we found it. And it's cleaning products that are refillable. And Ashley and I both, like you were talking about it last week, wanting to be like more sustainable in the new year. And I do just realize like how much garbage I produce in my home for one person. And we love Blue Land products, and Blue Land has a special offer just for Girls Gotta Eat listeners. Get 15% off your first order when you go to blueland.com/GGE. And Blue Land is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for the planet. And just as powerful of a cleaner as anything else. So they send you these bottles and tablets. There's toilet bowl cleaner, laundry tablets. There is glass cleaner, all-purpose cleaner. The bottles are beautiful and they're refillable, so you're not constantly throwing stuff out. The smell is great. I just don't feel like I'm ingesting all these chemicals when I clean.
No, you're not. I mean, I have always had an issue with dishwasher detergent because I feel like it doesn't work and it's a scam. And you get that residue and that smells like chemicals.
Yes.
So I have not used anything but those dishwasher tablets in years now.
Oh,
I mean, this
wow.
is all that I use. And I had like an extra container for the toilet tablets, and the toilet I gave Tessa that today. So she's going to love those. They just like foam up and you clean your toilet. It makes cleaning fun. We could not love it more.
Yeah. So they have laundry, they have dishwasher, like Ashley said.
Laundry's great.
They come with these really beautiful containers just so they're like
The
cleaning
forever
is kind of fun.
bottles. Yeah.
And then the bottles, all the sprays come with a tablet. You add water and then they're refillable. So Blue Land is trusted in over 1 million homes, including mine. It just makes cleaning so fun and pretty. Blue Land has a special offer for listeners right now. Get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/GGE. You won't want to miss this. Blueland.com/GGE for 15% off. That's blueland.com/GGE to get 15% off. I have to ask you a question now that we have these pink mic covers. Do you feel like you have to coordinate your outfit?
I didn't even think about it.
I didn't either, but now that I'm wearing all
We have
black,
a lot going on this couch.
but like I'm wearing all black and I feel like it really pops with my outfit.
We are a mess up here.
I think
Like
it's
we
great.
have all the this
dildos and dogs.
Azul
Dildos and dogs. That's our new podcast.
Dogs. That's our new blog. Like cupcakes and cashmere. Do you remember every blog was something like that? Like that was the format back in the day.
Yes, something and something.
Like Wide, Witty, and Pretty, and like it was just always something and something. That's a funny thing because we're talking about millennials and the millennial zeitgeist and all of that today, and that's probably something that
totally
Kate has obviously like thought about or wrote about. Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because we were talking about like travel and planes and this Alaska Airlines door that just flew off. Also, it was a woman pilot, by the way, as you know. And I love a woman pilot, and they like released the audio of like how calm she was, which most pilots are going to be calm in those situations. I'm not saying this is just like strictly to women, but I just love that,
Sometimes
because people want to be like, women are going to be like hysterical and emotional, and it's just like cool, calm, collected, landed the plane.
I'll tag a woman in for anything over a man.
I want a woman doing everything all the time.
Some men are a little too apathetic during the flight. Also, they're just like, this is about to get really bad for all of you. You're going to feel like you're going to die. You're not.
Okay, so if you were about to die, if we have an emergency situation, do you think you would know what to do with your safety equipment?
Fuck no. I'm not. No, truly, like gun to my head. If I was flying with my child, and I was just like, I have to make sure this child or me does not die. No clue.
So I'm going to make it a resolution for this year that I am going to really pay attention to the flight attendants. I'm always paying attention, but maybe it's going in when they're out the other. I'm going to digest the information when they're doing the safety demo, whether it's in person or it's on the screen, and I'm going to learn how to do this, and I want someone to test me.
I want you to do it on the podcast. When do you want to be tested by? Let's make it measurable.
We should have a flight attendant come on and do this. We have flight attendant girlies. I love them.
Oh my gosh, tons of them. And they could absolutely test you.
I should call that one that I got in a fight for. That I defended her honor. No, I think we could figure out the oxygen mask. I'm not worried. But when it comes to the life jacket, also,
like, I know that the seat is a flotation device, but again, gun to my head, we're in the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, I guess you just lift it up? The whole seat comes up?
I think it just pops up.
The whole seat just comes out.
I think you just rip it out. Here, everything is, also I can swim and I have a life vest. So I'm not too worried about the seat.
But depends on how long you have to swim for. Like if it's hours, you're tired. I would just drown.
You're just hanging on like Jack on the door.
Yeah.
You're hanging on to that
if he had a
cushion
flotation device, maybe he would have
If Jack would have had
he
a
would have
Boeing
listened during
757
if we'd have
cushion.
listened. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you, when you sit in an exit row and they say like, are you capable of blah, blah, blah?
Probably
not
not.
in a million years.
When they say, can you lift 50 pounds?
the
I'm like,
lies that come out of my mouth.
Just could barely lift my suitcase, ma'am.
Azul weighs what, like 35 pounds, 30 pounds?
No, he's 45.
He would be a struggle for me.
No, I would struggle, but I can do it because it's 50 pounds. Like my suitcase is 50 pounds.
I can.
Also, I don't think you need to lift it. I think you need to push the door open, and someone else is probably going to do it for me. Like, they're going to look at me and they're going to be like, I got this.
It's like when I get on planes and I get suitcase anxiety that I can't put it up.
You should not be sitting in an exit row.
No, I have no fucking business in those exit rows. Like, when they're like, ma'am, are you willing and able? They should be like, prove it. Because everyone's dying on that plane.
Is so funny. You have to do a weightlifting test to be in the exit row.
You should. If the whole plane is resting on me, we're gonna die.
Yeah. You know what I love though? Because we're talking about safety demos. I love a spicy flight attendant.
Nothing I love more. Like that guy on the plane. There's only been 3 times we've ever sat together on a plane. That one night.
And it was a Philly flight attendant.
Yes.
The Philly flight attendants are my faves. But whether you have good jokes or not, whether you are like first time at an open mic bombing, I love it. I love someone giving it their all.
Effort.
A lot of those are on Southwest. They have the funny flight attendants. They're like the spicy planes.
Wait, you're right. Delta, they take themselves
really do
seriously.
take themselves very seriously.
Yes.
They're the most serious.
And I appreciate it. We love Delta, but like that's the airline.
They don't make jokes.
That's the airline for non-jokesters.
American doesn't care what you do. They're going to make jokes. That was American when we were flying Chicago to Philly.
What was that airline that we flew to Greece? And the whole plane was just up in the aisles the whole time. We're going to Mykonos. They don't even care if you sit.
EasyJet was a party plane.
I feel like we were at the club. Every person was up out of their seats.
Drinking a White Claw.
Partying.
It was just, everybody had a seltzer.
Full
just
send.
lit.
It was crazy.
Like when they were like, everybody sit down, it was like the lights came on at the club. People were like, oh, come on. Like when they had to go back
they
to
were
their
like, we have to land.
But I was just thinking, like, I love that someone would have taken a job as a flight attendant so they could run jokes. Like, I was just thinking, like, it's very funny to have a job where you get to be on a mic and you have jokes. Like other jobs, I was trying to think of other jobs, like fitness instructor, Cody Rigsby, Bobby Westside.
Tugboat tour guide.
Oh, like tour guide.
I feel like, okay, that's when it gets awkward. Like the Chicago River Cruise, it's
Why'd
always
you say tugboat. Why tugboat?
I don't know. I was trying to think river cruise in Chicago.
Yeah.
Every time I'm on one of those, also I've taken like a cruise in Seattle, like around the water.
Yeah.
Every time I'm on one of those, the person thinks they're the funniest jokester, and I feel bad for them.
Well, sometimes they are. Like sometimes that's like, I know comedians in New York who do tours. Like this guy, Tom Delgado, like I would love to be on one of his New York tours. He's a real comedian. And so those are like, make it more fun. Like I remember way back in the day, I did the Sex and the City tour and like the tour guy was really funny. So a lot of comics do that. They like dabble in tour guiding.
Hear me out. If you are going to be a comedian that wants to like train via one of these professions, this is my hierarchy. Boat, worst.
No, I feel
it's outdoor comedy.
that is the worst. Outdoor shows like kill me. Like, they're tough.
Number 2, buses. Because they're semi-contained.
Yeah. Okay.
And especially if you're downstairs inside. The top tier of funny is in a plane. You're in a tube. The laughs can't go anywhere. They're just in the tube with you.
Right. Like you definitely echoes in there.
Yeah. So that's where I think that like you have the
limited
best
air
chance.
supply. Yeah. Well, if I wanted to be a comedian in another industry.
If you wanted to be a comedian. If I wanted to
come out of retirement, no. If I wanted to be in another industry and tell jokes, I think I'd go fitness instructor because those are like we talk about Bobby Westside and he's so funny and like that's what you want to take their class. Like Cody Rigsby, I'm there for the jokes.
I don't even really like his workouts as much. I'm there for the monologue.
No, I'm there for the shit talking.
I know
what they let him get away with.
Crazy.
But any of the Peloton instructors, like I like the ones that have funny things to say. Like it really helps the workout go quicker. So like Izzy too, like Bobby and Izzy are good friends and Izzy's a Barry's instructor. Like if you have a little humor to it, like that's what I'm looking for.
Totally.
So that would be the job I would pick. You're going flight attendant.
Yeah. If I wanted to like practice my craft, if I wanted to become a comedian,
would you do like
I'd get really animated. Because I'm trying to learn how to dance. So I would just also incorporate some moves into it.
You're like, you bring the oxygen mask.
Well, people would pay attention if I was like twerking with the oxygen
What if you were being sexy?
Ew.
Like, what if you were like,
suck on my finger?
No, I'm just thinking about you'd be like, and then you put on your life vest like this. Like, what if you got sexy with it?
But yeah, I took like my top off and then put the vest on. Like flight attendant fashion.
All right. Anyway, we do love our flight attendant girlies. We have listeners that message us from time to time, and it's an honor to be in the skies with you. Well, we are so excited to get into it with Kate. We can't wait for you guys to hear the conversation, but just going to talk about our remaining partners really quick. Chomps. I had a Chomps the other day. You know what? This is going to tie right in because we were talking about Pelotoning and I just felt like I hadn't eaten in a few hours. I was like feeling kind of hungry. And if I just get on the bike or I do a workout when I'm starving, like I just feel like I'm going to pass out. Like I'm not a person that can just wake up and not have a breakfast before I work out. A lot of people do, but like I really need to feel like I've had some calories and had some protein and stuff. So I just ate one of the chomp sticks and I really felt like that was all I needed to really just get that protein hit before I worked out. And it was just like so quick and easy and it was really tasty. Lindsay and Buck have been getting these. Lindsay, my cousin, and her husband Buck. We talk about Buck all the time. So I'm going to give you the power ranking from Buck. But before we do, I just want to tell you guys that we have teamed up with Chomps and they have a great offer for you to try them out. Go to chomps.com/GGE to see all the delicious flavors and get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Okay, so Lindsay sent me a picture of Buck chomping.
Buck is so hot.
He's
Buck
just
with a chomp in his mouth.
He does have just a chomp in his mouth.
And there's so many varieties that they send. Like it really is just like a nice package of different stuff.
Yeah. So he has the jalapeno beef stick in his mouth. And she says, I got the trial pack. So far, he's only tried the jalapeno, which was really good, and the pepperoni. Okay. So I said, I want a full ranking. And she was like, she didn't give me a full ranking, but they only tried a few flavors. So she says the Italian style beef is his favorite.
That screams Buck.
Yeah. So I just had like the regular. The other night, I'm down with all the flavors, but I just like a standard meat stick.
Tessa loves them too.
Yeah, Tessa, did you like them?
Meat stick girly?
They're really good. I mean, I think that there's this old school kind of like gas station snack,
beef
but
jerky,
and that's like maybe not as high quality. And this like is tasty and high quality.
They put a lot of effort into different flavors, which I've never seen before. Like you said, you do associate it with this like gas station food.
Yes, over 9 grams of protein per stick. No unhealthy additives, 0 sugar, low carb, no fillers. They are simply made with natural ingredients you can feel good about. Chomps only sources from farmers who raise animals humanely and farm responsibly. Go all the way off. This is what I'm looking for. Like when I'm eating meat, like I'm really looking for this. I was like looking up all these foods the other day just to see like the stamps of approval of like if they're treating animals humanely and all these things. This is like very, very important. So I love that they only source from farmers who do that. So they're looking out for the environment and our animal friends. Again, 9 flavors, thousands of 5-star reviews. Snackers around the world have satisfied their hunger cravings with Chomps, and you can order online and have them delivered straight to your door. And you can even subscribe for ongoing savings. So right now, Chomps is offering you 20% off your first order and free shipping when you go to chomps.com/GGE. That's chomps.com/GGE. Don't forget to use our link so they know we sent you.
Yes. And finally, maybe your resolution this year is to focus on your hair. Mine is. So we're going to tell you about Nutrafol. If you have hair thinning, you know that it can be really complicated and it can happen because of a lot of factors. So for me, I've straightened my hair with hot tools my entire life. But for lots of people, it can be hormonal, it can be biological, it can be because of your environment. So Nutrafol's 3-minute quiz determines the underlying cause that's keeping you from reaching your hair potential. And like I said, it'll analyze your lifestyle, your hair history, environmental triggers, and it'll create a hair health plan that is tailored to your hair's needs. They have growth supplements. They're physician formulated using drug-free, high-quality ingredients recommended by 4,500 doctors and hairstylists nationwide. I mean, truly every time I talk to a hairstylist about like, what do you recommend for hair care pills? It's always Nutrafol.
And dermatologists.
Yes.
Like my dermatologist and my hairdresser.
Yes.
Like no one's not recommending it. Like it's top of mind. It's the best out there.
So if you're looking to target weakened or thinning hair, really check out Nutrafol. Go to their website, see what they offer. Start your hair growth journey today by taking Nutrafol's hair wellness quiz and get your personalized hair health plan today. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping at Nutrafol.com/quiz when you enter the promo code GGE. Take the quiz and get started on reaching your hair wellness goals with Nutrafol today. Nutrafol.com/quiz, spelled Nutrafol.com/quiz, promo code GGE. That's Nutrafol.com/quiz, promo code GGE. Check it out.
We're ready for our guest today.
Yes. Okay, guys, we are so excited to welcome back our good friend, and returning guest. She is an entrepreneur, author, podcast host, and pop culture commentator. Her absolutely brilliant podcast, Be There in 5, covers pop culture, influencer behavior, and truly so much more. Her newest book, One in a Millennial, comes out January 23rd. Please welcome to the show, Kate Kennedy.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. And since the last time you were on the show, you've added mother to your resume.
I have.
You didn't say mother in her credits.
I was saving
Is it in your bio yet? Instagram mother, mama. It's got to be mama.
It's actually not. And I talk about how people introduce themselves on social media in the book at one point. I call it like digital PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, order of operations in math.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that.
I think it's interesting what order people choose, like wife, mom, career, or like career, wife, mom. And I notice the people I love to follow, they often do lead with like wife, bride emoji, kids, baby emoji, then themselves. But I haven't had that shift yet, is I guess what I'm saying. So I appreciate you introducing me by my own identity first.
Well, also we like to give people updates on your lives and like what you've done. I think you got married. Would you get married since the last episode you did is called "Why Aren't You Married Yet?"
But I was married. But I talked about
funny title because she is married.
I talked about how frustrating it was to date for a long time, and then everybody is bothering you about when you're getting married.
Yes. Okay. So I feel like I can't not bring this up because this was on my mind a lot, pop culture wise, over Christmas, was this Simone Biles and her husband thing. Did you see this?
I did. Yeah.
I don't know if we need to recap it in full, but basically they did an interview. People just didn't really love the tone of the way her husband spoke about meeting her and starting to date her. And, he's the catch and she chased him and this and that. Whatever works for them. Like the quote I kept seeing was like, if you like it, I love it. It's fine. So then people kind of were bombing her comments and things of like, look at Simone Biles, the most decorated athlete of all time. And this guy, which I'm sure it's like, she doesn't love that either.
Right.
You're not supporting her by doing that. But I couldn't help but notice that like the first thing in her bio is wife to this guy. Like, Simone Biles.
Maybe it's like a joke.
It's not a joke. Like, she really loves this man. Like, she does view him as maybe another achievement. I don't want to speak on behalf of her, but clearly to put it above her Olympic gold medalist, the GOAT. Mm-hmm. First thing in her bio. Your bio, it's your priorities.
Yes, absolutely.
That's kind of funny though. And she's like, I'll just toss it to him.
But I think she's also recently married. She's probably really excited. The Olympics were a while back. She's probably like, this is hotter on my mind.
Well, and to your point, that might be her choice and that might be how she self-identifies. But I really do think social media bios are an interesting microcosm. It's like, here we have this landing page where we can glorify ourselves. But if you choose or not to lead with who you are to someone else, I think it's just an interesting thing that people do. And I find most people get to themselves or their career third. And toward the end of the book, I kind of ask a lot of these questions about identity as I was thinking about becoming a mom, because then your identity does kind of shift to
mama.
To mama.
Faith, family, football.
That is the tagline of my Finsta.
Every person that bullies us on the internet actually is a yoga instructor with faith, family, football in their bio.
It's not even the faith. It's
Live,
not
laugh,
faith, family, football. But yes, it's be kind. Always the meanest things I've ever seen about myself is someone that
Mother,
says like
yoga instructor,
love and light,
right? Life coach.
I love light workers. Do you like come across a lot of light workers?
No, they like work on your light.
It's kind of like
an electrician.
It's kind of like a new agey job title where like you help people find their light. I don't really know what it requires to be a practitioner of light, but it's just a favorite cue of mine for like, this is Mabe's occult.
Yeah. This is cult light worker. Okay. So you came on last time and you were married. You had your husband blocked on Instagram and you have been really open about your indecision of children. And you are a new mama. Go off, mama. So, like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm saying this. I actually love to say mama, but it's funny. So we want to talk about a lot of the book today, but we did want to start with that because that is a big change in your life. And it's so fascinating to us as, someone who certainly doesn't want children. Rayna's like, 90%, but the door is still open. But I loved how open you were about it. And then ultimately that you decided to go for it.
It drove me crazy. Like the farther I got into my 30s, how kind of the apex of my career was met with the decline of my fertility. And how do you control the timing of something you can't control? And I mean, the ultimate joke is this book is coming out. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks before turning it in. I recorded the audiobook 9 months pregnant. I mean, like, it just is kind of the ultimate manifestation of like, you have no control over this. And I think what's interesting about our 20s and 30s is like, you have your choices and your chances. So even if you choose that you want to have kids, you might not be able to. Like, you know, I think we're all very harsh on ourselves about the course our life takes. And for me, I didn't have baby fever. Like, I waited for so long to wake up and have this all-consuming desire to have kids, but it never happened. And I think what ultimately helped me was realizing like, well, babies are babies for like a small period of time. Like, I think it's okay to not love being pregnant, to not love babies.
Totally.
And to feel like toddlers and young kids are kind of a lot, but a baby becomes a toddler who becomes a kid who becomes a person. And parenting is about so much more than just the baby phase. And I was like, oh, maybe that's the disconnect, is that I didn't necessarily want a baby, but I always knew I wanted to be somebody's mother.
Okay. You felt sure in that decision.
Yeah, I felt sure that I wanted to like raise a human, but I think I felt very overwhelmed by the timing of the most chaotic phase.
I love the way that you phrase that, because like I don't love the idea of being a mother to a small child, but like I look at Ashley's relationship with her mom and I think like, how wonderful would it be to look at your child out in the world and be like, I did that. I fostered that. I'm so close with this person. Like, what a wonderful feeling that would be.
Yeah, but then there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
You could have 4 boys. We talked about that in the intro. You could too. Okay, so here's the thing that I say, and I'm happy for you to debunk it, or anyone really. I just feel like, well, I know to be true that being a parent is really hard work. And if you're a good parent, like it's around the clock dedication, it's tiring, it's exhausting. You know, I'm watching like my brother and his wife and all my friends and family who have had kids. So to me, I've always said like, you have to want it so badly because it turns into your whole life. You know, like I couldn't imagine being on the fence and then pulling the trigger with the hopes that you deliver a baby and it all just falls into place. So do you feel like that's accurate at all? I mean, but I guess you're saying you felt sure that you wanted to be a mother.
Well, no, I think that's a fair point. And I think that my biggest message of all isn't like become a mom or don't. It's to explore your indecisiveness. I think we all deserve to explore the indecisiveness. And the advice that drives me nuts is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, because life is just not that simple nor binary. I said that I was kind of like 51% majority stake and like being interested. And when I make decisions, I like don't really need to be on the polls because I can't understand something I haven't experienced before. I just have to get as close as I can. But I think with parenting, like there's a lot of good reasons to be on the fence. And a lot of those reasons are very good reasons not to have kids.
Yes.
And I think it just depends what your reasons are and you have to explore that. And I think for me, I realized it was like, I'm not that into other people's babies, young kids. But then one of my things was like, I don't find myself to be super maternal. But that ended up being really misguided because I misunderstood. I was conflating the difference between maternal and like domestic, which are two totally different things.
Totally.
I'm not very domestic at all, but like, this is my kid and I'm his mom, therefore I'm maternal. And I'm like the best mom I can be for him because I'm me and I'm his mom. It has nothing to do with like my traits in like the kitchen, you know?
Yeah.
But like I have like the most maternal, loving, sweet mom but we're very different. And I kind of thought, I don't know. So my point of exploring your uncertainty is like, you might be believing stuff that's like not even accurate to the experience. And if I had said, I'm not maternal, so I shouldn't do this, that actually wouldn't have made sense because you don't need to be.
I like the exercise and I had the opposite thing happen. I always thought I would be a mother. I thought it was a foregone conclusion. Everybody has babies. I'm going to have a baby. The closer I got to an age where it made sense and all my friends having kids, the less I wanted to do it. The closer I got to that experience, seeing all my friends be parents and what it takes to be a great parent, the less I wanted to do it. And checked in with myself and was able to say like, this doesn't necessarily seem like that much fun to me.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I like that you said if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. That's not a mindset people should take because you can get new information and change your mind and explore the indecision, like you said.
Yeah.
Because someone's like, well, I don't know. I'm like 28. I don't know. I'm not, I'm unsure. And then you could like totally flip the script. Like you almost went the other way. So I think it's always worth like exploring. And over time, my fear is always that people rush into something they didn't want in the first place.
Oh, totally.
Because of society or culture or whatever.
I think that per like Rayna's point too, I think it's interesting how we're just like, especially young women are talked to about marriage and babies, like they're these inevitabilities and they don't even explore desire. Like at a point I was like, are kids something I really want or are they something I always thought I'd have? And those are kind of two different things. And your desire is a disconnect. And I think getting to a point where you're like, oh, this is maybe not something I want, is like really important. And I think that just because you always pictured your life a certain way doesn't mean it has to be that. And
Totally.
yeah, there are a lot of like cultural forces that I call it the love, marriage, baby carriage pipeline. You just kind of like grow up assuming that's your future, and it doesn't have to be at all. So yeah, I think there are endless things you can analyze and pathologize inside this conversation. And I did it openly because I actually don't think that people trying to decide have much of like a voice or a space in society, because you don't want to offend somebody that's trying and is having trouble. And I did, by the way, like I've experienced loss, I've experienced infertility, like the whole gamut. And I think what I just realized is like kids sit at a weird intersection of joy and heartbreak, and we have to make space for all conversations. And while some can be offensive, depending on what phase you're in, they still deserve to exist. And I think if you can't talk about this stuff with friends and family and your partners, like I just don't want us making bad decisions, to your point of like rushing into something or regretting something later. Like just explore it. And it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I think I was very scared of even asking myself these questions because of the role time plays in our choices.
Yeah. And I think that like we say this all the time, that like our decisions aren't a judgment call on other people's decisions. Like
that's how people take them sometimes.
At this point in my life, like I'm also nearing not being able to have a kid. I'm 38. My, your fertility drops off a cliff. And so like as I come closer to accepting that maybe I might not do that or might not want to, if other people want to have a kid at 38, great. It's not a judgment call on you.
Right.
Do whatever you want.
I know. I mean, I just love the point that you just like stated so eloquently about talking about this stuff. I always go back to this Khloe Kardashian thing of her talking about not feeling bonded to her son and how people came for her. Well, it's not all people. Again, it was probably down the middle of people being like, thank you so much for speaking about this. Because moms don't want to admit that. There's so much shame and guilt surrounding it. And for this huge name to come out and talk about, postpartum or just like not feeling that bond is like, was so huge, I thought. And the way that people came for her like broke my heart. It was like, she didn't have to share this.
Right.
This was like so generous to begin with.
Right.
Or any mom, famous or not, that is willing to kind of discuss those like shameful feelings.
I think the worst thing we can do is encourage each other to like hide or go further into silence. Like there's so much invisibility to women's experiences.
Yeah.
And you guys are right. Like your choices are not a commentary on somebody else's life choices, but they deserve to take up space because somebody else might be needing to be greeted in that spot.
Right.
And I think the hardest part about 20s and 30s is like we are all in such different phases. It can make it hard to relate to one another. And I think the women-led media is important because it can greet you at that moment. And I think it's important. And that's interesting you bring up Khloe because that was brave of her.
We couldn't believe how generous to share something so dark and vulnerable and put that out into the world and to be attacked for it.
And I got that too when I was like openly, I did like a lot of podcasts about not knowing if I wanted kids. And the response was kind of like how lucky you are to not know when I really want them and can't have,
We acknowledge that
and
too.
I have so much empathy for that situation.
Yeah.
And then I ended up being in it. But I still think that conversation was valid even after experiencing that heartbreak, because the message I would want my kid to get from my like content, let's say he ever comes across it, isn't, you didn't know if you wanted me. It's like, no, having you was such a big choice and such an immense responsibility. It deserved the exploration to make sure I was as close to certain as possible. And the thing I found is that all of the bad stuff about parenting doesn't offset the joy you feel. And without that context, I wasn't really getting the full picture. And now I would say that it's like, I'm so, so incredibly glad I went down that path, but it's not for everybody.
Great. Really? Well, how's it going?
Honestly, like I'm genuinely really, really enjoying it. And I think that one side of overthinking it is that you could analyze it a little bit too much. But I think for me, that's what I needed. And I think my expectations were so low. I'm so pleasantly surprised by it all. And I'm having like the best time.
Okay. Love to hear that.
I love being a mom. It reminds me of like when I first got my dog Tugboat. It's like my husband and I, we smile and laugh so much because of this baby. And it just brought so much joy. And it's just really fun to like see him grow up. And I just am enjoying it so, so much. But I do, my partner does do half of it. I mean, like actually.
Totally.
So I think that's a big piece of it too.
It is. Have you unblocked him on Instagram?
I have. Oh
my God.
Exciting for him. Yeah.
I know. If you guys didn't listen to Kate's first episode, it wasn't that they were in a fight. It was like, shit, I want him seeing her shit. He didn't get it.
Okay. If anybody out there has a partner in a completely different industry than them, do you like meddle in their work Discord? Do you like chill on Microsoft Teams? No, it's their own world, their own identity. Don't get in mine.
Well, I like
That's so funny.
I like when our partners come to shows. I'm trying to put butts in seats.
Yeah.
Well, now I've since changed my tune, but I think my message there was when you're getting started, I actually think the thing that discourages people the most from taking a risk is the people in their immediate life or the audience that their thing's not even for.
Right.
So if you're making a podcast for women of a certain demographic and you're getting all your input from a man that's not of it, that's bad business.
That's so funny you said that, because when I started a food blog through Instagram so many years ago, which everybody thought was the dumbest thing they'd ever heard of. It was so annoying that I was taking photos of food. Like no one was really doing
make fun of that a lot.
Everybody
people taking photos of food. Yeah.
I was like an
who
original.
just came out recently? What's it? Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah,
that was so
I was
stupid.
like an original OG. Like food Instagram account was one of the biggest in the country. Everybody thought it was so dumb to take photos of your food. I remember my brother one morning we were in Dallas having brunch with my dad. They put the food down. I went to take a picture. He pushed his plate away and he was like, "How much longer are we going to have to do this bullshit?" I took my brother on an all expenses paid trip to New Orleans to stay at the Ritz-Carlton on food blogger money. And I met Ashley because I started that. So who's stupid now?
I think it's funny because we'll talk about some of the throwbacks of the way we grew up, like pre-social media, pre-smartphone even in the book. And it's funny to like think about taking a photo of your food in the early 2000s with your point and shoot. Like it's funny to think about like we didn't
BlackBerry.
we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like
No.
you know, that came with smartphones in the first place. Like I had a camera on me. I had my Olympus or my Canon and I was going to fancy meals at Charlie's, but I wasn't taking photos.
It was the inverse. Now, can you think of anything on your feed right now that you scroll past faster than a group photo? No interest.
Yeah.
But food? Thank God there's food on Instagram. How would I know where to eat and what I'm going to eat there?
No,
we only did large groups of people. And now that is not the vibe. It's just, it's under 3 or under, or show me, like, it's still life or small groups of people or selfies.
There are a lot of group photos in my feed. But sometimes they're just the first photo. It's been too much of me. It's been too, they're just sometimes the lead photo of a carousel.
I need people to know that I have a lot of friends.
No, I think that it's all about balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question though? I think group photos are like astrology in that I'm like only looking at mine. Like I'm only looking at myself in a group photo.
Yeah.
Do you survey if everybody looks good? And do you look at like everybody's horoscopes?
Okay. Great point. No and no. That's insane. Like, why would I read what an Aries is supposed to do this month?
Right.
Like,
so then how are people like, you're such an Aries? And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know what an Aries does?
I think
group photos,
low level.
I feel like it's respectful to the group to make sure everybody looks pretty in a photo. But send it to the group, you get a consensus.
But to your point, also, like, I don't care about anyone else's group photos. Like you're saying, like, I'm scrolling past so quick. I don't give a fuck, but here I am posting them. Like, people should care about mine.
Well, I just want people to know that I have a lot of friends. That's the only reason. I don't want you to even look at it. I don't care if you even look at me in the photo. I just want you to look at the feed and be like, she has a lot of friends. It's important to me. It paints a picture of who I am.
You sound like you're overcompensating. You have plenty of friends.
I want people to know.
That was the name of the game with Facebook albums. Like Facebook, when they first came out, the goal was, look at how much fun I'm having. And I'm living the dream. And it was mostly like, so your high school ex or your ex best friends knew that like your collegiate experience was like thriving.
But you're right, because if I post a solo photo, I will get so many likes and comments. But group photos, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Unless Ashley's in it and it's me and Ashley.
If it's me and you, yeah.
Literally 0 likes.
It's going to be awkward when our group photo doesn't perform well.
Okay, so why'd you write this book?
Yeah, I think I'm a podcaster. I have a podcast, Be There in 5. I've been doing it for 6 years. And what I've noticed throughout the past 6 years is that there's like a really common thread of like a lot of women my age that want to feel seen in the things they like and celebrated in their hobbies, interests, even in their nostalgia. But there's like a tendency to kind of minimize or dismiss when you like stuff, if it's basic, common, popular, or like mainstream. And I kind of noticed through having more nostalgic podcast episodes that like people love to reclaim certain experiences of girlhood that at the time they felt like they kind of had to minimize or that they were made to feel aren't important. But when I look back on my life, I'm like, yes, education's important, but like my entire ability to wordsmith was developed on AOL Instant Messenger. I almost lost my religion because of an NSYNC song. When I think about the most formative days of my teenage life, it's not my high school graduation. It's like when I spent my whole paycheck on a Vera Bradley bag. And for better or worse, I am that person. I'm kind of shallow, but these brands and these products and these icons like mean something bigger than meets the eye. And I think that on the heels of being ridiculed, it's like in the early 2010s, we were made fun of for being basic, but we're a bunch of millennials that had to fit in at all costs. Of course, I have a North Face Denali and Uggs. Like that was the currency. And then further in the 2010s, it was like everything was talking shit about millennials. And it was about how we killed off all these major. Do you guys remember that phase where it was like they killed things like paper napkins or diamonds, but then like also the American dream?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of clickbait. And then further we got in, it was like Gen Z was making fun of skinny jeans. And it's just like, okay, I feel like we're kind of this comedic press punching bag. Meanwhile, none of us identify with any of those tropes. What was like our life in girlhood and what is our nostalgia really about? So I kind of wanted to argue for like the great depths that can be found in shallow experiences while showcasing that millennials' lives are about a lot more than us being like entitled or lazy or killing off something. Like we're just a product of our time. Leave us alone.
Totally. And I remember my mom talking about like the new millennials in our office and how fucking lazy and entitled they were. But we are the first generation that had emails on our phone and were available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no such thing as a vacation. My mom got to take vacations. I would take vacations when I worked a 9 to 5 for somebody else. And I'm sitting on the beach on a Tuesday working. There is no breaks ever.
I've never understood this lazy entitled millennial thing. It's just like, we're the hustle culture. It's just like, it's also ass backwards. It's like, whatever. And we all are products of our environment and grew up in a certain way. But I feel so lucky about when we grew up. Like I feel like we hit the jackpot. I got to have a childhood that was disconnected, a adolescence that was pre-social media. I graduated before school shootings were prevalent, and we were kind of oblivious to the really bad stuff in the world. And I mean, even just before 9/11, it just felt like a lighter time, or we just weren't aware of it. And I think that I was molded in that way. And you shine a lot of light on the stuff that shaped our body image, or just all the consumerism that was shoved down our throat, and that girls were only supposed to care about like boys and clothes and shopping and being skinny. And, then I was like, yeah, that wasn't great. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't know what's worse, because I think that Gen Z has had this luxury of growing up with a lot more body positivity and acceptance and seeing people that are more representative and inclusive, but they've had to grow up with social media, and I don't wish that on anyone. Like, I feel so lucky. Like, I think it would have fucked me up.
Yeah.
I was already fucked up. I hated my body. I hated the way I looked. I thought about it constantly. I had a loop in my head. I don't even know how I would have survived with like a constant 24-hour loop of like everybody is more beautiful than you, thinner. Everybody's using filters and Botox and hair extensions. I don't know how I would have survived. I already hated myself so much.
Yeah. And I want to like, we have so many questions for you. And this last thing I wanted to say is like, to your point of like making fun of millennials, like skinny jeans and this and that. And listen, I don't wear skinny jeans, but I think it's so funny to like make fun of millennials for dressing like a millennial. Like, I'm like,
what do you want?
Do you want me to dress like a teenager? You're like, I want to be on trend. Like, I want to be fashionable. I want to pay attention. Like, but if you were to call me a millennial or chuggy, I'm sure I do some of that stuff. It's like, but that's what I am. It's very funny to insult someone. And you're like, but that's, I am a millennial.
It's worse to try to be like you. I'm not 22. I don't have the body of a 22-year-old
I'm
anymore.
all for like the younger people creating the trends. Like, I want to be clear. Like, younger people have always been on the forefront of trends and
children of the future.
Yeah, exactly. But when it gets down to it, it's like sometimes we are gonna dress and act our age.
Yeah, they can have it. The stuff of their age.
That's kind of the point, is like millennial's not a derogatory term.
I don't think so at all. I'm
so
like, you're jealous.
It's kind of like about an ownership of a lot, like all things that are millennial. It's like, yep, that's me. I'm one of these.
Thank you.
We're the first generation that has been like made fun of on the internet for stuff we also did on the internet. Like, we were the first people to put our stamp on the internet, and now you have a record of it. You can go back and make fun of me about publicly. Like, my mom, I guess you could make fun of my parents for being boomers, but like, they're not aware of it. They're on Facebook posting whatever they did that afternoon.
I know.
Or their political affiliations, but like, they don't know they're being made fun of by us.
And then poor Gen X, like, they're not even in the zeitgeist.
Nobody even cares about them.
Gen X,
which good for them.
They got it easy.
Gen X, they're such an interesting generation, like marked by their independence. They're like latchkey kids. They have a whole story to tell in a book I would love to read. But the like social, cultural, and political and economic forces that happen when you come of age define your generation. Ours just happens to be defined by like really seismic things like the internet, like the greatest recession since the Great Depression. Like, there are really big factors that define us. But yeah, to your point, like the biggest one is having a childhood that's disconnected and an adulthood that's hyper connected. And it's not that we're better or worse off. It's more like, I think we're just always trying to like adjust. Because I agree that growing up with social media from day one would be nightmarish. But I almost think there's something funny about millennials where, like, okay, even if the kids today grow up in a body positive world or like a more politically correct one, is that what's actually happening behind closed doors? Like, hard to
No.
say. But with us, we like lived in kind of this like problematic zeitgeist. And then one day woke up and we're supposed to love ourselves. I think that's what Rayna said earlier.
I think it all the time. I was told my entire life to hate myself. And one day we're like, we're not doing that anymore. And I was just supposed to agree.
Right.
And I think that's great. I think there should be representation of every type of body in the world. But like, I was told to hate it, to hate everything about myself. And now we're like, we're not doing that anymore.
And that wasn't a choice, by the way. You were like indoctrinated. Like if there was a cultural conditioning happening where to me, it's like a shake for breakfast, a shake for lunch, and a sensible dinner is like stop, drop, and roll levels of like a thing I heard so much. I remember it off the top of my head. Like diet culture was such a big deal. And I just don't think we should be blamed for not being able to shed ourselves of those internalized things that were pushed down our throats when we were young.
Yeah, this quote that said there was something unique about the 2000s that exacerbated circumstances involving self-esteem. It was an era of harsh beauty and body standards, minimal mental health conversations, and maximum online performance we were very new to be on the receiving end of. Like, we weren't ready for it. Gen Z's, they've at least prepared.
Yeah.
And I don't envy,
for the feedback and for like all of the, ever-changing.
Sure. I don't envy any other generation. I'm happy to be what we are. And I don't think it's easy to be Gen Z. And I think that there's a huge rise of, obviously there's online bullying.
I think it's hard.
I think it's really hard. I think that there's explosions of anxiety and stress. And I think that
and being scared at school, like, don't get me started. Yeah.
And I think that pornography has exploded upon society in a terrible way also. And has made boys think a certain way about sex and women's bodies in a way that like also boys weren't exposed to as much when we were growing up. So yeah, I don't think it's easy being that generation. But I like the discussion of mental health conversations because there just was none of that growing up. I mean, I even say like when my fiance left me, I was 28. And I had no one to talk to about this. There was no podcasts about everybody's breakups and engagements ending. I'd never heard of such a thing in my entire life. I was 28. So I think it's really nice that there's all this today.
Well, the whole kind of thesis of the book is the dichotomy of like celebrating the things I grew up loving and, criticizing how they shape my worldview, which in part of the chapter about the 2000s called Are We Going Out or Out is about like, it's kind of trying to capture that, like, there were so many things that made us vulnerable during that time that I look back on, like, the all-female pregame as this bonding ritual where we, like, really built each other up. And it was so important to me, like, when girls were like, you look so hot, so cute, such a fun top. Like, it bothers me that people make fun of how women greet each other because I think that's one of the most charming things about us is wanting each other to feel good. The flip side of that, as everything has one, is, like, you notice when you get feedback. And I noticed when I get positive feedback was when I was like, blonder, tanner, had lost weight, talked less. Like it was kind of all these things that went against my instincts. And now I look back, I'm like, well, it is kind of interesting because I feel guilty for perpetuating these horrible, beauty and body standards. But I think my proximity to them made me chase them endlessly. Like I noticed I could get more attention if I did this, or I put sun in my hair, or if I lost weight or whatever. And like, it's kind of sad now that I think about it because I was just so, maybe I'm shallow or maybe it's part of like growing into womanhood is like, there is a moment where you kind of like, I like to say, stop looking out windows and start staring into mirrors. And then you look back on that time and you're like, there's a lot of people that like needed to be seen and that were way worse off than me. But I was like so obsessed with validation of my appearance. Like I try to think about the source of that, but I think it was commenting on each other's appearance. I think it was how boys responded to you. And I think it was seeing tabloids. And to quote my friend Nora McInerney, that would put women on the cover saying somebody was scary skinny, but then they'd also win who wore it best.
Totally.
And it's confusing messaging.
It was all confusing messaging. I mean, listen, you wrote this in the book. I don't know how you phrased it. You speak so much better than I ever could. But I think if you're like, I don't know if I'm a bad feminist or what, but do we really have to stop commenting on people's appearances? Like positively. No one should comment negatively on people's appearances, women, men, whatever. But give me compliments. What are we doing here? Like, I would die if people just stopped telling me I looked good. Like, not like just friends and Instagram comments. Like, isn't that what we're doing? Like, aren't Rayna and I like doing our hair and makeup and like, aren't I working out so hard for people to notice? Like, I'm doing it for myself, but
totally.
I feel like we've overcorrected on this. Can't comment on women's appearances.
When people say you should only tell young women if they're smart or capable, I'm like, well, that's condescending. I know I'm smart and I know I'm capable. Tell me I'm pretty.
Hot.
I think we've overcorrected, and I think that it's not our fault why we might not always think we are. So for the love of God, remind me now and again.
Again, negative, what are you doing? I just want to be clear. It's like, no, you should never be commenting on women's bodies negatively
But positively, I'll take. And if you want to tell me I look smart, that's fine too.
I understand the flip side of it. I understand someone who could be struggling and, or there's comments or they are struggling and it's like, oh, you're so skinny. And so it's being reinforced and maybe they have disordered eating. Like, I want to recognize that. But for me personally, keep them coming.
Right. It's like, we don't have to comment on like the specifics, the size or the difference from the last time you saw them. I just think it's like nice to tell somebody they look great, they look beautiful, they have such a fun top, whatever. It's
They're
like,
glowing.
it's something that I think it's fun that we do.
Yeah,
and I just like that about us. And when people label it as fake, I'm like, it's actually not, because nobody knows more than we do how the world works overtime to make you feel depleted. And if we try to inflate each other's spirits upon greeting, like, what's it hurting?
Right.
I want it all the time.
So can we talk about the millennial paradox?
Yeah.
We can read your quote back to you, but I'm sure you just like have it on lock. But the thing that we both wrote down was, I think you said, like, in conversations of picking people's brains, which is one of those terms, I've discovered that members of my generation want to seize the opportunity to pursue passion over a predictable profession, but are torn between the traditional values they held growing up versus the modern opportunities that greeted them once they did. To me, this is the nucleus of the millennial paradox.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like a PhD. I'm musing for entertainment here, but this is kind of how I think about my career, and I'm sure you guys can relate because we all have internet jobs. But like, half my career is very corporate, and half of it is very modern. And this job didn't exist when I was like building my dreams. And I think a lot of people relate to like, okay, so I plan my life out without a lot of information. Then the information age happened. Therefore, there are a lot more opportunities. So per the pick your brain combos, I noticed when I was an entrepreneur, people would want to talk to me about like this elusive idea of passion, like this obsession with pursuing your passion that almost in the 2010s happened, where it was like, I don't want to just work to work. Whereas prior generations, it was like company loyalty and staying at a company for as long as possible. But like, one of the negative tropes about millennials is calling us like job hoppers or disloyal. But if you entered the workforce in the most terrible recession since the Great Depression and a company's never been loyal to you, why would you be loyal to companies?
Amen.
So I think that us being job hoppers, it's kind of an example of like, where do these negative stereotypes come from? They're not necessarily negative. They're true. It's just how you interpret them. So people job hop for good reason. Or if you call somebody lazy because they have work-life balance, like that's not necessarily bad. It's just a matter of perception. So anyway, I think the millennial paradox is interesting because we grew up in a world that's very different now. And while that happens to most generations, I do think the internet and information and the job opportunities democratized by the internet has made a lot of people wonder if them following the straight and narrow was a mistake and they could do something they're more passionate about. But I'd say for me, the flip side of that is like, if you work in your passion, you're not as passionate about it. Like there's trade-offs to everything,
Yeah.
So it's just, I think that we are more dynamic than we get given credit for. And there's good reason why a lot of us are a bit like lost or confused or behind. Because when you think about some careers, you have to plan that out starting when you're like a teenager, when you pick a major. And I just don't think any of us have any business picking long-term decisions like that when we're that young.
No, do you know how drunk I was in college? I would like see how many days we could go without taking a break. That person was making decisions for me. I would be like,
it's been like 27
days in. And that person was the person I used to fuck my whole freshman year was named Trailer. I never even learned his real name.
Traylor? Like Taylor and Trey?
Taylor? No, like the
great question.
Like the thing that you put in a trailer.
Oh, okay.
Like a park.
Yes, like a park, like the park.
Oh, I see.
And he wore a John Deere hat and his name was Trailer and I don't really know his real name. And like that was my boyfriend and I would try to like drink as many days as possible. And that's who picked my major forever.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
The pressure we put on young people to make life law. I mean, think about going into medicine, going into law, like the switching costs are high when you actually get into it and you don't want to do it anymore. And I mean, I hope Trailer's well.
The one that got away.
You looked him up lately?
He was hot.
I bet he was.
He was like a big like Indiana dude.
Oh.
He wore like a John Deere hat. He was like a big man.
I can picture it.
Yeah. I had a type early on.
I think I just wanted to talk. Was he bald? He was probably balding.
He was giving I'm gonna be bald.
Male pattern,
Yes. And he had like olive skin and a big beard. He was a big dude.
Okay, let's set him up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about that because I just also want to validate trailer specifically.
Can we just deep dive
Trailer's
trailer?
wife messages us and it's like,
She probably will.
so this guy I fucked him in college also, and his girlfriend messaged us and she was like, I'm so and so's girlfriend, and I was like, I took his virginity.
You use actual names on here?
I didn't then.
No, we
I don't
don't.
even know why she knew. He must have told her. That's why she must have said like, I like this podcast, and he was like,
yeah,
"Who's the
people
host?"
have connected the dots.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty.
Yeah.
But with the exception of Trailer, do like to have some anonymity.
Well, that's not his real name.
Well, everybody knows so many people.
It
named
might
Trailer,
be.
So.
It's not. I don't think it's his real name. I have no idea.
There's one Trailer. He's still in Indiana, and they're gonna find him.
I hope they do. I hope his wife reaches out and let us know if he's bald.
Coming on our carousel, no one else will.
Yes. I know. Yeah, we should get a group pic.
If she comments the bald guy emoji, I'll know.
You'll know. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you should put on a going out top and go find him. I just want to talk about the millennial paradox, and you guys can read a lot more in the book, but just to give people permission to feel confused, and just like, should I have gone down this road? Or, we really are yes, people were following their dreams and passions and whatever, but we really were the first generation to really be fed that. Yeah. Follow your passions. You'll never work a day in your life kind of, mindset. And it's not for everybody, and it's confusing.
Well,
and
some people need to have the real jobs, like regular jobs, And also, like, I think you talk about this in the book that, like, we were told to go work for ourselves, but there was no, like, archetype for that. Like,
right.
I didn't know anybody else that was, like, a social media influencer that had figured out how to make money. Like, I was at Amazon. I was going to leave my job to be a food influencer, and I didn't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, like, diagram for, like, do this thing, then this thing will happen. Here's how you grow it. Here's how you monetize it. Here's how you know your worth. Like, that didn't exist until we created it.
But like, it's been figured out as we've gone along. I mean, I still remember Bros Being Basic days. Like, it was just the Wild West. There weren't even like contracts sometimes. You're like,
no.
Yeah.
Get this money. It's like, where's the deliverables laid out? Is there a contract?
That
like,
never existed.
This is, I think they were figuring it, brands and agencies were figuring it out as we were too. So anyway.
And you talk about this in the book a little bit. I want you to talk about your experience. But like, I remember my mom used to say to me when I was in high school, like, you used to have all these interests and hobbies. And I was like, don't tell people that. Like, that is so embarrassing to me. But like, I used to like write poetry. I like submitted for competitions.
Same
my mom,
girl.
She sent me a photo of a floppy disk the other day. And she was like, not a hard disk.
Oh yeah. I
And
used to like go to creative writing classes.
Yes, I took creative writing classes. I went to like smart kids school.
Right.
And I did pottery classes. I went to art classes at the museum.
Me too.
I went to high
piano.
school and I was like, don't ever tell anybody about this. I don't remember ever having another hobby ever again.
Right. I'm like, if you tell anyone I went to pottery class at the Dover Art Academy, I'll die.
Wrote a poem? Are you kidding me? My mom texted me the other day. She's like, I found this hard disk with your poems on it. Do you want it? And I was like, don't ever tell anybody that
I would like it. I'm going to look right to the camera. Myrna,
Yeah.
I want that. I need that poem. That poem book.
I was so angsty. I thought I had the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Rayna, if you don't get me those poems, not the poems. Let's put these on Patreon. We'll fire up the Patreon for this.
I was so angsty, you guys. I really thought I had every problem on earth. And like, my boyfriend was just like mean to me that week. Like, I was so downtrodden and I had no problems. But anyways, I don't remember having a single interest or hobby in high school and college. I did not read books. I didn't go to seminars. It wasn't cool to have interests. And then like, I remember we were hiring our original intern for Girls Gotta Eat. Her name is Leah. And she was like talking about our course load in college. And it was so many electives and so many interesting things. And I was like, I never would have deigned to do any of that. It wasn't cool. It wasn't popular to do it. Nobody around me was doing that. It just wasn't cool. I didn't develop interest in hobbies until my mid-20s.
Well, to the point in the book, our interests and hobbies were just supposed to be going to the mall and flirting with boys.
Boys were my hobby.
Girls got to do pottery. I can't believe you both, the hobbies you just listed off like they were normal. I'm like, I didn't do any of that.
My mom was really big into putting me in that stuff.
That's amazing.
Also, Matt
that.
was so good at pottery. They still have his pots around.
I have a lot of questions. I love that though. And that's probably speaks to like how much mental and physical real estate we had growing up, like without being iPad kids, like we had to do something. Mm-hmm. And if you couldn't play outside, like you were sent to like day camps and stuff like that. But to your point about your poems, A, I do think we need to get our mitts on those. And two, I think that is the beauty of girlhood is that by design, you lack perspective. So your boyfriend was mean to you that week, and it was the worst thing that had happened to you. Yeah. So therefore, you wrote from that really pure place of not being like, It's not a big deal. You weren't. I love that part of girlhood where you don't even have the wherewithal to dismiss yourself. It is just that intense.
You have to get on AIM and post a really sad lyric.
Yes. Was
Let
your
everybody
screen name
know.
about one of your hobbies? Were you like Pottery Girl 6'9"?
It was Blondie. Blondie 412. Because that's how I saw myself. I was just like, that's what I value, is how I look.
Yeah.
What was yours?
I wish I could remember these. I mean, eventually towards the end of the road, you know,
Okay.
like I was already in my early 20s because we were still using it like then.
Yeah.
You know, what was the run? It's like
97 to 2009.
2009. Yeah. So when
What, AOL and Messenger?
Mhm.
my final name was Ashalea. It was just like,
Oh, that's cute.
and my mom would randomly call me that. But I don't remember the like, I don't know, Lil Princess 48.
I was hoping there was a flute related one
I
that
know.
you just set fire to.
No, fuck the flute. That's the whole thing with the flute. I was like, this is for nerds. Like, do you remember you're like young and you think something's cool genuinely, right? Before someone tells you it's not. And then someone tells you it's not. And you're like, what? This thing that I'm good at and I really liked, like one person just has to be like, that's for nerds. And you're like, I'll never do it again.
Right.
Like us, our generation. That may not be everybody's
nerd
experience,
culture
but
is great.
I really cared about popularity and being liked. So for me personally, one person saying that thing was nerdy, I will quit it.
Me too.
And joke's on us, because what could be cooler as an adult than having musical talent and being good at something? All I
Or if you're
want
like,
is
oh my God, a guy that can play the piano.
Being
like,
a poet.
we're just
Look, we were talking about the flute. Look at Lizzo. I mean, like people that have talent, like it's genuinely cool. And I think that that's kind of like part of the reason I wrote the book too, was like, what about those of us that spent our adolescence chasing moving targets of trends, of beauty standards, of popularities, of things that have absolutely no sustainability, but like on an ongoing basis, we just like followed what was socially acceptable. Like, what about our stories? Because like this is not a book of greatness. This is a book from a highly mediocre person that chased trendy stuff and never did anything unique in their life. And like, that's okay too.
We don't think that about you, Kate.
Yeah. This is the best written book on mall culture
Literally.
I've ever read.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I really feel passionately about them all.
I asked Kate if I could go on her podcast, and we're just going to talk about malls the whole time. Like, nothing speaks to my soul more. Like, did you know like nostalgia used to be a mental illness in like the 17th to 19th century? I have that mental illness. Like, my level of nostalgia is like in my body, like for the music and for the TV shows and the movies and the malls. Like, I feel it so deeply. So this is why this speaks to me, because you have every obscure reference to like, you know, the mainstream, from the mainstream to the obscure. You cover it all.
Well, the first time, like when Ashley was on my podcast last, probably like 5 years ago, we talked a little bit about nostalgia, and she told me like very earnestly, like, well, I got like most of my tops at R&B. I got butterflies. I was shook I was like, what? Like R&B to me is couture. Like I didn't.
BB? If you knew somebody who shopped at BB.
But I did. That's her point.
R&B, BB. I think she got her like prom dresses at Cachet, which
I
is
did too.
nuts to me.
I got all my prom dresses at Cachet. Of course I did.
My whole wardrobe was not R&B and BB, but I had a few select statement pieces, obviously some items. But I also shopped at like Deb and you know,
Rave
like,
and
whatever
Limited
it was.
Hot Topic.
I actually bypassed Limited 2 completely. They were like, she's an adult size.
You went straight to the
I fuck
Limited?
with it.
I was straight to Limited, New York and Company.
Oh yeah, obviously.
As a child, I was just in a blazer and a pencil skirt. But I did pride myself on my fashion. I was just like, I remember I had a pair of knockoff Burberry print pants from BB, and they were $98. And I was like, I bought it with like, you know, whatever money I was earning on like a summer job. Like that was a whole paycheck of the summer, obviously.
Right.
I just would go to the mall and blow everything that I earned. But I was just like, I'm a fashion icon in this school.
Well,
No
it
one in
sounds
the
like you
school was
were.
dressing like this.
BB t-shirts. If there was a girl walking around with BB across, I was like, that's the richest person.
That's what I did.
in
Like,
school.
I should find first day of 11th grade, me posing BB shirt, BB pants, standing in front of my 93 Altima.
That's the stuff.
I would go to school and tell everybody that I was shopping at Cachet last night for my prom dress. Like that was the hottest ticket in town.
I only got my senior prom there. The others were like Macy's, Strawbridge's, maybe one from Boscov's. That's a
Jessica
deep cut for,
McClintock
like,
core.
Oh, my mom would be like, your dad has to come because he's paying for this.
You had to try on dresses in front of your dad.
Well, my mom was like, we're not paying for this. Your dad's paying for this.
My parents were just so happy I had a date. We were really cutting it close. Like my parents were just so happy someone was taking me to the prom, I think at that point. Like they were just like, let her have it.
But like, was that a memorable experience for you? Like going to Cachet and picking out a dress?
So it's a long story, and we don't have time. I can come on your podcast and tell it.
Okay.
So it's a scandal. No, Rayna
just
just heard this story. I
It
really
involves
like
the whole town.
It's
Whoa.
Kate, listen, we don't have the time.
We're going to
but
dinner after this, and we're going to
It's
tell
a
the story.
full-blown, my full town. It was a scandal.
In the newspaper.
Did your
When I
town have one of
started
those
saying it, I was like,
stores
"That
where
is
you'd put your name and your dress so nobody could wear the same dress to the dance?
You submit it to the school.
Does it have to do with that?
No, it doesn't have to do with that. I'm not trying to blue ball you guys, but
Okay,
it's a
we
long
can move
story.
on.
I'm going to do an exclusive on
Okay.
Be There in 5.
Wow.
On how I got the whole town riled up. I had basically 2 prom dresses. It involves cachet. I got a lot of layers.
I'm so excited right now. I can't wait to hear it.
I like that you're throwing listeners to Kate's podcast. She's like, we're not going to do it on ours.
Yeah, listen to mine.
I'll share it on ours too. Okay. So
So yeah, I had to retrain myself to have an interest or a hobby when I was like 28. I had to
But
learn how to read
is
books.
shopping, gossiping, talking about boys, like, I guess that's kind of my point is like, I don't think we knew better than to take on the things we were told were cool. And I also had fun doing them.
Also brought me joy. Like,
It
I
brought
don't
me
remember
joy.
feeling like I have
Yeah.
to stamp out the poetry from my life. I just remember thinking like the poetry and the pottery doesn't serve me anymore, and we're going to pivot for a little bit. And
Yeah.
I had such big boobs. I already stood out. So I
Mhm.
just didn't need to stick out like any more than I already did. And I do remember taking a lot of joy in like dressing like my friends and boys. And that was fun for me.
Did you like Bath and Body Works?
I couldn't get enough of it.
What was your favorite scent?
The one that everybody loved, cucumber melon.
Yeah.
So Country Apple
Hot
and
girl
Sunripe
scent.
Raspberry were the top.
there was
and then
another one.
Country Apple, Sunripe Raspberry, Cucumber Melon. Those were like the OG 3. And then I do think they brought in
Periwinkle.
Freesia.
Freesia, Sweet Pea.
Sweet Pea was
Sweet pea.
the scent of losing my virginity.
Really?
Yeah, I would wear
The
Sweet Pea
lotion
that
or the
whole
body
summer. I would do
mist?
the whole mist with the
Oh,
lotion.
okay.
So you really had a whole vibe.
Remember what was it? Gap Dream.
Yes, and Victoria's Secret,
Secret.
very sexy,
Yes.
and Body by Victoria.
Body by Victoria. I loved. So the last thing kind of we want to talk to you about in the book, and then people should buy the book, is religion and purity culture molding your views on sexuality, because this was probably hammered home to a lot of us growing
Mhm.
up.
Yeah, we want to talk about your experience, which I feel like is probably a lot of people's experience. Mine wasn't as extreme. Not that yours was that extreme, but in terms of growing up in the church.
Yeah. It's a chapter called God Must Have Spent a Little Less Time on Me. And it's about like purity culture in a sense, if you participated in like 90s, 2000s youth groups, but also like how purity culture infiltrated the secular spaces with like abstinence only sex education, with the aggressiveness of dress codes and whatever. But yeah, what's interesting is that like my family's not crazy religious. I wasn't forced into any of this. Like I got yanked into like these camps and youth groups under the guise of like good old fashioned teenage fun. Like I went to camp to water ski and I liked church lock-ins because they were co-ed and you'd like go play laser tag. And in hindsight, I'm like, this is kind of a sneaky form of evangelizing where you're brought in under good old fashioned fun and then you're like cash getting your soul saved. And I think that it was interesting for me because at a formative age where you're learning about your sexuality, to be told that like you are a temptress, you will make your Christian brothers stumble, you're responsible for how men respond to you, you need to cover up so they don't look, paired with, being in school. Like one time I wore a cowl neck top, and we all know a cowl neck is not the sexiest choice.
You called it a crumb catcher in the book.
I did. It is the crumb catcher of blouses.
Which is the
Is it not bucket around your neck?
I know.
If I'm eating a Nature Valley bar, I want I want a cowl neck.
My God.
But in
They should sell those together.
They really should. It was probably just from Express. It was tasteful.
It was tasty.
I got pulled out of class for cleavage. And like when
Oh my
you
gosh.
really think about the concept of a young woman's education being compromised and she's taken out of class just in case the male's education is interrupted by staring, it's pretty upsetting. And this was just kind of par for the course. So I was nervous to put this chapter in because it's kind of starts wistful and it's like sleepovers and aim and limited to, and then it's like hard left. Let's talk about religious trauma. But I do think that there's something particularly pervasive about this type of conversation. In the 90s, even in pop culture, we obsessed over like girls' virginities, which is really weird.
Right.
Purity rings with Disney Channel stars. But the point is, I think that there are a lot of people who, even if you weren't super religious, you had touch points with these sorts of spaces. And in my experience, they would do exercises where you would stand in a group and then you would chew gum. And then, youth leader would ask you to pass on your chew gum and ask the next person to chew it. And you'd be like, ew, no, I'm not going to chew chewed gum. They'd be like, well, that's how your husband's going to feel if you've had sex before you're married. Or they would put tape on a guy's arm, take the tape off, put it on the next guy's arm, and it wouldn't stick. And they'd be like, well, that's what happens if you have sex before you're married. You're losing your ability to bond with your husband. Once the bonding agent is gone, it's gone. And there's a sector of young women that were very manipulated to believe our self-worth was in our purity and in our virginity. And it was really confusing for me to get out of that space, go to college. Hookup culture was thriving.
Right.
And it's like this other one world told me my value is in with what I withhold from men. This world is what I give to them. And where does that leave me to safely participate in sexual activities when I'm really just equipped to like not get TSS from tampons and like, wear a condom. Like, I guess, there wasn't a lot of dialogue about like hooking up and the spaces in between. It was like virginity or bust. And I just felt very unequipped to like, be in the hookup world once I got there.
Well, you wrote this line, in many ways, I feel robbed of the opportunity to nurture my own instincts prior to the interception of religious moralism by a handful of random adults who weren't even my parents or trusted mentors. And that goes back to this kind of youth group leader who was probably fucking 19 or whatever the fuck. But I also, just for people listening who, we respect religions of all kinds, as long as you don't push your beliefs on others and judge them for it and use it to, further a political agenda.
Right.
But you really do also start the chapter with that of like, it's not about the religion. Like, it's about like the agenda and like what they were, covertly doing. Cause I think there's like a lot of power in community, and we grew up and like going to church and things like that. But it was just like, you got in it and it shaped you in a way.
And I think the most insidious part of some of these spaces is they look so well-meaning. And it's nothing to do with the faith itself or the love and light parts. It's the abuse of power of when you're talking to a bunch of young people and you allegedly have the key to their salvation. Like, it's going to stick with me that you're telling me my sister is drinking and she's going to hell in a handbasket. I'm like, then I don't understand. I'm so worried about my sister. I just think like, when you're holding something as serious as your eternity over young people's heads and kind of manipulating them to believe things in your favor, it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But not everybody does that. It's just there's some spaces where like, it's almost like if you can get in early enough and they can evangelize a certain way, it really does indoctrinate you to feel a certain way about yourself and your body and your autonomy. And my point of that chapter isn't to dog religion.
That's why I wanted to make the point.
I'm very respectful of like the spiritual positive elements, but that like, there's just so much space for manipulating people in the wrong ways if you're not careful. And I think that the sad part is that people are perpetrators and victims. And a lot of the youth group leaders, I'm sure, grew up that way. Then they passed it along and they didn't know better. And I have a lot of empathy for that too. But I wanted to talk about it in case there are people, I have friends that I went to camp with who couldn't have cared less. And I have friends who are still in therapy who are happily married because of how purity culture infiltrates their marriage.
Yes.
And I think everyone internalizes stuff differently.
Yes.
And I think if your point of entry to sex is it's bad, it's dirty, it's this, that, or the other, it's a bit hard to shake.
100%. I mean, that wasn't my experience, thank God, and obviously not Rayna's, but we have had to understand that there are so many people out there and also our listeners that cannot relate at all. Like we are constantly surrounded with women are older, they're our age group. And I'm sure some of them like still hold some of that trauma, but we'll get messages and we're like, God, we got to remember sometimes that there are these young women who have grown up to think sex is bad and it's dirty. And oh my God, they can't believe we're talking about masturbation. And, I just forget sometimes because I'm so far removed from the age, but B, that just wasn't my experience. And like, we feel for them so much and like, I feel so honored to even be able to help at all.
Yeah.
Normalize certain things.
And I'm a little quiet during this conversation because that wasn't my experience. I'm really lucky. My mom gave me like your body yourself when I was 10. Sex was normal, healthy, beautiful. I went to Jewish summer camp. All we did was hang out. I gave so many hand jobs. Like it was really like
the Jewish that hits different. The camps are different.
We water skied and we water skied. There was a ropes course. I gave so many hand jobs. I went to camp to give summer hand jobs.
On the ropes course or in the
just
water
at
skiing?
night, like we would just like, we'd like sneak out to the water skiing course and jerk each other off. No, I mean, I really learned about sexuality at summer camp in like a really good way. I mean,
that's
these
awesome.
kids were so sexually charged. And I do think, I can't speak to everybody's Jewish experience, but I do think Judaism champions sex is a beautiful thing, a positive thing.
I've had a ton of people write in who went to Jewish summer camps echoing the same thing, that it was a way more relations positive experience than it was like a shamey one.
Yes. And of course, that's not everybody's experience with Judaism. I'm a pretty moderate Jew. I was moderate to reform. But like, yeah, sex was a positive thing. It was championed. It was a great thing. We weren't supposed to be having sex at camp. I was like 14. But
it's all the HJs. The OTPHJs.
I mean, I was just like sneaking out from tent to tent, jerking guys off. But to your point, like I do forget sometimes that really, really is not other people's experience. And I have a lot of empathy for it because I've like, what an honor to grow up thinking that like your body is beautiful, sex is beautiful, and you should explore those things because so many people didn't get that and will be in therapy forever for the rest of their life because of it.
Right. I like that you said that there's like a complete spectrum. Some people just like didn't shake them and other people are like, how am I ever supposed to shake this? This is my intro into sex.
Right. And it's so much less about like what you were taught and more so about like how you internalized it, I think, because then people invalidate your experience if like you took something from it others didn't. And I think I've told you both before, like that's why your show is so important. Like I think that there are more people than you probably realize who listen because they don't have a lot of permission to have that dialogue in safe spaces in the place they're at. And it's really great to hear other women confidently speak about sex and sexuality in such an unabashed way that you forget that people don't.
Absolutely.
And that's important. And I appreciate you guys for that because I still can't.
I just want to say, like, I want to wrap up the conversation of being raised in this purity culture and every adult around you. And then you get to adulthood and the boys were also raised with that. And so you're an adult and the men that you're dating were also raised like that and shame you for how you talk about sex. And I understand that, like, not only can you talk to your friends about it, you can talk to your partner because you're getting it in adulthood too. And we just try to be like really just create like a honest open space where like we can acknowledge that people were raised like that and now are being met by men in romantic relationships that are also shaming you and saying we don't talk about that, that's not how I was raised, why are you doing this so much, you know?
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you a personal question, you can answer it or not. I mean, how was your husband raised? Was he raised in Christianity or Catholicism or any sort of?
He was raised Catholic, but he's not like super religious. We're like pretty on the same page with most things. And meeting him was such a transformational experience for me because he was the first person I dated that was a true stranger. And it was very empowering for me, as weird as that sounds, because if you go to college in state where a lot of my friends went, and then I was in a sorority, and like you almost have these reference groups that follow you and almost define who you are, even if you kind of want to evolve. And I almost felt like I had trouble dating people in that circle, and I got friend zoned a lot. And like I was this one person in the context I had grown up in. And then when I moved to New York and met my husband, it was kind of like a clean slate in a way that empowered me to not feel so held back by a lot of the stuff I had grown up with. And I just felt like very accepted and loved by him without any pretense. And yeah, so he doesn't really have any of the hangups I do whatsoever. Catholicism is less invasive in my experience because my mom's Catholic, and it's just not like my friends that grew up Catholic didn't grow up like with the weird virginity metaphors about chewed gum. Like it's just a little different.
What a good balance you guys are.
And like every religion, there's such a spectrum because I know like crazy Catholic, conservative, type people at the same that like, when we were talking about Jewish matchmaking, like there's a really far into that spectrum where you don't even touch to your wedding day kind of shit, so I feel like there's just always kind of, I told you that like shocked me because I don't know those types of Jewish people that are like crazy conservative.
Well, they don't call themselves conservative. They call themselves Orthodox or Lubavitch, but yeah, you don't touch. And that's a totally different sect of Judaism. A lot of them have arranged marriages. You're married at 18. You have a baby when you're 19. You shave your head. You
get married quick.
The internet. I should have nabbed a husband when I was 18.
Trailer.
Could have been trailer. And you brought up your college experience, and I just want to say that I really appreciate you basically talk about how college wasn't the greatest time of your life.
Yeah.
And I was reading another book recently where she was like, college was a disaster, but like my girlfriends are the best thing that came out of it. And like you're still friends with them today. And you really do talk about the importance of female friendship. And so we love that common theme, obviously, on this show too. But I like that you're saying it. You're like, a lot of this was shitty. And you said you felt even when people say that, it makes you feel some sort of way that this was supposed to be the greatest years of your lives.
No, I remember alumni coming back for homecoming and being like, never graduate. The real world's awful. And I was like, oh, this is already pretty bad. So I don't, like, what the hell is out there for me? But like, everyone's different. And I didn't, back then, I didn't even understand the difference between introversion and extroversion. Like, I thought something was pathologically wrong with me because I didn't find like frat parties fun, but like I don't get energy from big loud groups and parties. But I didn't know that was okay.
Well, I would say I was like old when I was 19, and I never wanted to get like so fucked up and stay out so late, and it was like 2:00 in the morning. Everyone was so drunk, and I wanted to go home so bad. At midnight I wanted to go home, and like I just thought there was something like really uncool about me because of that. Now I can't say it enough. I can't wait to leave a party.
Yeah.
Go home and write your poems.
Yeah, you got to.
I did want to go home and write those
Poems
poems.
to tend
I
to.
have so many words to rhyme.
Yeah.
But I think that's like shows your complex, dynamic, interior girl world and how even if you had the optics of abandoning it for a while, you like didn't. You know, you're still that same person with that same amount of depth. You just kind of pivoted where your attention went.
And I like that also you made the point that like it did make you happy. It made me happy. I liked fitting in. I liked being in a big group of girls. I liked being popular. I liked the boys liked me. I liked those things. I found value in it. That was fun for me.
You had a great time.
I think we all three have not the exact same college experience, but this little piece of like, that was not the best time. Like I felt a little out of place. Rayna and I had a similar experience of just where we chose to go. We felt a little out of place, and my girlfriends are the best thing that came out of it. And, you know, we're still all friends today, and you say the same, and Rayna too. And it's just like, but the rest of it, it's like a lot of weird weight and body image stuff. Just the yo-yoing was like crazy. And like, I didn't really feel like boys were that into me, and I was like sleeping around and for validation. It was kind of a hot mess, and I wouldn't ever do that again. You know, like that was not the greatest time of my life. And like, if that was someone who's listening to your experience, that's great too. But I like talking about how it's like, okay, that wasn't so awesome.
Yeah, it was fine, you know?
Yeah.
But I just didn't like the stuff that everybody liked as much. And I felt like I was forced into doing it. I still had a good time and we had a gun to my head, but I slept around a lot.
You can have good times in your life and it not be like the time of your life.
Sure.
And I think that like people can feel a bit gaslit by those types of statements where it's like everyone else having the time of your life and like you're not, and you feel like you're crazy. Yeah. It's like, I think the thing I learned is like your time's coming. Like I loved the real world. I loved like having a salary and a job and moving to the city. But some people love the untethered vibe of college. Like everyone's different. I think part of that like fitting in at all costs thing is it just doesn't leave a lot of space for you to be like, well, I'm different and I like different things and that's okay too. You just are kind of like, well, I don't like what everyone else likes, so I must be wrong.
Yeah, I think I like both of these things. It's like, I don't like what everyone else likes, so I must be wrong. Or I only like stuff that everyone else likes. I must not be complex or dynamic or have any depth.
Never
and it's like
stood a
neither of
chance.
these things are true. Yeah. So like what you like and lean into it and
Write poetry.
yeah, write your poems and
That's kind of my ultimate conclusion is like,
make your mix CDs.
I spent a lifetime just trying to be liked, and in doing so pushed down a lot of the things that I loved. So like my goal for the book and for my podcast and any of it is just like, let's focus a lot more on the things that we love than focus on being liked.
Yeah. So anyways, Kate, the book is fantastic. The way you write is amazing. Your podcast is unbelievable. We just really love everything that you produce. So guys, check it out. Where can everybody find you?
Everybody can find me in Ashley's breaking story about the scandal that ravaged whatever Delaware town you grew up in.
Delaware.
At Be There in 5 Podcast, at Kate Kennedy on Instagram. The book is One in a Millennial. It comes out January 23rd. And come see me on tour to talk about more of this stuff.
When's the tour start?
The
Of January?
24th. Yeah, the day after the book comes out.
Okay, so they can check your website for dates and everything.
Yes.
Yep.
Amazing.
And we have been to a show that you did before,
Kate,
and it was
wow.
incredible. It blew us away. So I don't know exactly what you guys are in for, but we can't recommend it enough.
Truly.
You guys are the best.
So much work and energy goes into these.
And if you love the book, you will love the show. I am certain of it, or your money back.
From Kate, not us. From Beth.
I
You know,
did
you
not
know.
agree to that in advance.
You know, you know.
I was going to offer, but
You know what? You could Venmo request Ashley.
yeah.
Not Girls Gotta Eat.
Can you imagine? Someone's like, I hated the show. I'm like, oh, this took a
I've
turn.
Venmoed somebody for my own show before. We
Really?
don't need to get into it.
Okay, we'll talk about it over margaritas. Okay, and you guys can find us at girlsgottaeat.com, Girls Gotta Eat Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. I'm Ash Hess. Rayna is Rayna.Greenberg. Of course, our company Vibes Only, vibesonly.com, Vibes Only on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube, share this episode with a friend, get Kate's book, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good week, guys.
Bye.